Hey guys, welcome to the channel, Sunny here, and today we're taking a look at another GLabs patch. We're doing these live every Friday at twitch.tv/bprimegaming. So if you want to be there for the deep discussion and the rundown and the details about all these changes, don't forget to tune in. So first off, link will of course be in the description at Black Desert Foundry. That's the patch note site we're using for this. And the way the GLabs normally works is we get the patch notes Fridays, and then on Wednesday, most of these will be in Korea. And then the next week, we'll see most of these changes. Some differences like the Scholar changes should be coming out globally because it was global class release. So they should be coming out on Wednesday. But let's dive into it. There is a lot of stuff here. The last bit of this is going to be about the class changes for PvP. And there is some very, very big news. There's no huge changes, but there is news about the changes. So the stuff from last week with protections and everything is put on hold. It did not make it to live in Korea, and they're going to be asking for you guys' feedback. So we're going to cover that at the end. But there's a lot of other amazing things. It's not a huge patch, but there is some crazy good quality of life in here. Okay, so this is the list. Black Shrine teleport. We are finally getting the teleport so you can do your Black Shrine bosses from anywhere in the world. You don't have to go to Land of the Morning Light to start a boss anymore. You can be at any city, and once you're done, you'll be teleported back to where you were. Currently on global, it does seem that even though it's supposed to teleport you back to where you were, it does seem on global right now that it teleports you to the actual boss. So it's like a one-way teleport. There's a good chance that's just a bug, and once it hits live, hopefully it's going to give you right back to where you were, so it's not just a one-way teleport. They are also doing what they talked about at both Calcium Ball, I believe, but also the Dev Talks. They are going to combine the potions for the party and the regular elixirs. Basically, they're going to turn all your regular potions into party elixirs. They'll function same depending on how you view it. The TLDRs, don't worry about it, don't do any changes. There's no reason to combine your elixirs anymore into party elixirs. Your regular elixirs will have the same duration as party elixirs, and they will be giving to an entire party. And then they will remove the recipe to make party elixirs because there will be no need for it. Regular elixirs will do it now. And of course, they'll turn all your party elixirs into regular elixirs with this patch coming out. Now, the most efficient, if you're worried about wasting resources, the most efficient thing is to don't touch your elixirs. Wait until this. Do not make party elixirs until this patch comes out. That will give you the best benefit of your current elixirs stored up. They are removing the item, and they are making an alternative for the journal that requires this item, the tier, to do. So don't worry about that. Now, this is one of the big changes, quality of life, that we are very excited to see. Yas is back. Name might change. Basically, this is a bag where you can combine items. But the change is not its own. They are also making all of these items stackable in your regular inventory. So the way this is going to work is all of these combinable items now stack. So this is a huge quality of life. It also means you don't have to really buy nearly as much inventory space, if any. It's huge. And whenever you need to combine them, you will get a new icon down here to open a bag for combination. You see right here. This icon here is going to be added to your inventory, and it will open up a bag where you can throw stuff in. And you just have to throw in, as you can see here on the animation, one combination. When you combine them, you choose how many you want. So you can combine all of your relics, all of your scrolls in one go. It's so good. It's so nice. Completely knocked it out the park with this one here. It's great. It's amazing. It will also work for quest items like this. So you don't have to rearrange it in your inventory. You just throw them into this new combining inventory, combine them, and be done with it. It's so good. Gonna be way faster combining them, but also clear up a lot of your inventory filler because they will be stackable. Beautiful, almost perfect fix to this issue. Good job, PA. For monster changes, they are removing the acreage usage from the elites at Taurus, because currently people would be using Acres just on those for getting a bigger buff, and then they are buffing the Acres, the drop rate of the trash, so you get almost like double the amount of trash here. They're also doubling from these Chaos Embrace from 2 to 3 to 4 to 6 of the spawns. So you should be getting a lot more trash, but they are removing the Acres for the elite spawning. For monster changes, they're doing the same here with Acres on the Butcher. Last week you got some drop rate buffs on trash. So they're removing Acres from working on the Butcher, so people can't just activate Acres just for the Butcher to maximize the profit on that. They want Acres to be something you turn on when you're grinding, and just leave it on until you're done with it. Next up is a huge quality of life change as well. With the patch of now having a dedicated entrance to Arkman and History, they are going to allow you to take your mount in there. Currently, if you try and enter one of the portals, your mount will die if you enter with it. And you cannot blow your horse into the instance either. So now you'll be able to go into the portal with your mount, or you can blow the mount from inside and get it into the instance. So now you can overstack your trash on it and everything. It's great. Love to see it. Awesome change. For time-gated quest, they are also making some changes here. Basically the frigate stuff, and also the instruments along with the wagon daily quests are being changed to just being repeatable. So you can do the quest and you can keep doing it. So if you want to grind out the quest for making these horses, the wagon, the boat stuff, or the instruments, you don't have to do it daily. You can just grind it out. You can do it whenever it fits you. Nice change to reducing some of the time gating on these items. Nice. Quest item improvement, this was also alluded to. They're going to be cleaning up our inventory. They are going to be removing some of the old quest items that don't have any use after you've done the quests. They are also going to allow some other ones to just be vendorable. Here, 10 million silver for this. Removing all of these items here. Nice, just cleaning up the inventory a bit. For tutorial improvements, they are just making it a bit better. You'll be able to skip some cutscenes. Just small changes. The guild galley ship, they are increasing the amount of materials you get when you're making these, so it's going to be easier and faster to make guild galley equipment. You're going to be getting between 2.5 times and 10 times the amount of output. For example, down here with the sticky glue for the guild with lobster, you can now get 10 instead of 1. So it should be a lot easier for a guild to make a galley. They are also making some improvements here to the equipment. I believe what you can do is turn in like your green and blue plus 10 gear, and you can get higher tier grades for it to upgrading the guild galley armor and gear and everything, for upgrading the guild galley and making it better. You see here you have the items. On top of that, they are adding exchange options to the guild Old Moon Seals of Battle and Life, where you will be able to turn them in for these materials here: sticky glue, rusted decoration, and Calcium special steel ingots. Again, needed to make and upgrade your guild galley. This one here we've seen in the past, but now it's finally coming to the game: shy tagging improvements. How this will work is whenever you are on a shy and you want to tag another class, as you can see here on the animation, you can now select from your inventory any awakening weapon, and that will then be tagged to the other class. Currently, the only way you can play different classes with your awakening weapon is to use a weapon swap coupon for that class. So this will definitely help people that play a shy and then want to play some other classes. You no longer have to use weapon swap coupons. You can actually tag a weapon from your awakening. However, you will still not be able to tag from your awakening weapon to the shy. So you still have to make the Atenia Soul for your shy, but at least now you can copy your awakening Blackstar or whatnot to any of the other classes you want to play. And now the big note. Actually, let's go down here. let's do this. So in today's patch, there are two things in terms of class balance. One of them is some fixes to Scholar, which is amazing change. There is some distance increase on Core Fusion, the C ability. They remove Coalition, so you just go through mobs. They also increased AoE size on several abilities. And they made it so if you're using Hammer Spin, you don't, and you hold down the Shift C, it doesn't cancel Hammer Spin with the C ability. You have to re-click C to then cancel it. Huge quality of life. They increase the activation speed of the BSR ability. And again, lots of AoE increases on some of the abilities. So this is stuff that's all great. It needed it. It probably needs a bit more. Hopefully we'll see maybe some damage changes. A bit of sustain would be good on some abilities for PvP, etc, etc. But these are all great changes that the class definitely needs in ironing out the feel and fluidity of the class. Now, the other change is a more general one. It's not actually a change, it's very, very important post. So I'm gonna spend a bit of time talking about this and also try to calm people down. There's a lot of players already misreading this. So we'll try to put out some fires with this. Last week, there was a huge change on the global lab in terms of adjusting protections and CCs on pretty much every class and spec in the game. Some of these were ludicrous, and some of them were very good for some classes. Currently, there is a lot of classes that are too protected, and there are some classes that need more protections to be able to function in group PvP settings. And then, of course, you also have the element of PvE protections, and you can't really add PvE protections because they don't have anything but PvE iframe. They don't have PvE front guards or super armors. So if you add a front guard for PvE, it will also affect PvP. Now, there was a lot of feedback from the community that some of these changes were too much, and it was going to change how the game played too much. Too much protections, too little gaps, too little openings. There was a lot of super armors being added. So they did not put it out on career as they said they would. Instead, they delayed it to rework it and change what they're doing with it. So this right here is the first update on it, and there is some pretty big things here. Now, let's get into it. The purpose of the balance patch applied last week was to increase the grinding stability of classes with poor defensive checks and to solve the phenomenon of dying too easily and dying quickly in large-scale battles. A lot of classes are just completely unplayable in large scale because of having not enough protections to do anything. But they can still function 1 versus 1 in small scale. But they wanted to give more viability to classes in larger scale. We planned to make this clear first and then further adjust the balance of 1 versus 1 and small scale battles. However, last week's patch had its merits. We sympathize with the concern that it clearly had a significant impact on PvP, so we're considering a better solution. TLDRs, the last week's patch, they were planning to do that and then make the adjustments. It looks like now they're gonna wait with that, make some adjustments before applying it. And that last week's patch definitely needed a lot of adjustments, but I don't think it was... The idea behind it had a lot of merit. But they definitely needed to pull back on some of the classes. However, here we come. We're currently considering 3 options. And this is where it starts getting weird. The first method is to increase survivability by making defense checks tighter, like in the last GLabs patch, and add skills or options that can break these defensive checks. So that could be guard break abilities, which we already see a lot of, but one of the issues with the last patch was it was a lot of super armors being added. And they talk about that as well, that it was a bit too much super armor in the second paragraph. So it could be some other sort of super armor breaks, some debuffs that block super armor, CCs that go through super armors that aren't grabs. Like, they're not very specific with the stuff here. But they do acknowledge that with at least the patch as a whole, it became too much of a protected meta. meaning that it's very hard to punish grabs and would turn into a bit of the old meta of super armor damage into grabs. In this way, it is expected that grinding efficiency will improve and survivability will increase, and survivability in PvP will also improve compared to before. Here, in 1 vs 1 or small-scale battles, it is a way to continue the battle by utilizing skills that can break through the newly added defensive checks. So they're considering 3 options right now. Keep this in mind. This was option 1 that they're considering, basically like the last patch, but some ways to break these protections. The second method is to reduce the number of super armors and increase the front guard to increase survivability and convenience of grinding. So this could mean a couple things. It could be that the patch, instead of adding the super armors to some classes, it would instead be front guards. It could also be changing some of the super armors on the very protected classes right now and give it front guards instead, as a means to allow them to be CC'd by people positioning behind them and catching them in the back. Classes without grabs, which many adventurers constantly talk about, do not have the means to attack the back. So by removing the super armor back protection, you can provide opportunities to everyone in PvP and increase the efficiency of defense decision depending on the control on the situation. So this is like the second option where they're talking about like focusing more on front guards in the game rather than super armors. Of these 3, this is definitely leaning to be a better option. I'll talk a bit about the 2 here because the third one they're not actually planning to do. So these 2 are the 2 main options they are focusing on. The problem is that PA is trying with these like options to apply a general solution to an individual problem. Like, every class functions very differently, and there are some classes that have issues that other classes don't have. For example, Awakening Witch versus Succession Circle. If you're trying to apply the same general application of protections to these 2 classes, you're gonna get a clusterfuck. So both of these options have a lot of merit to it. And the real solution, in my opinion, is not any of these. It's both of them where needed for different classes. It's giving some super armors, some front guards, checking some stuff on the classes that needs it, and then potentially changing some super armors to front guards on classes that are too protected. So in my opinion, it needs to be a middle ground. They're not gonna get a good solution if they're trying to do a one-size-fit-all for all classes. So hopefully they're going to actually like apply a bit of both, but where it's needed for the game, to give a more balanced approach. I feel like we're kind of close to a solid PvP balancing video, but they definitely need to scale back some of the very protection. And that could be just changing some super armors to front guards. It was one of the things they did with Sockcircle back in the day. And then they added that ability back to super armor, but just changing like one of those movements from a super armor to a front guard was a huge difference in being able to actually catch a Sockcircle running. It's still hard, but at least you can do it now. So we don't need to go into like more super. They could do a bit more of that. And then we still have a lot of classes in the game that are basically feeling like they're from 2020 in class design, in terms of gaps, protections, CCs and all that, versus the newer classes for the last year or 2 that are coming out and can maintain full protections at all times. So they need to tone it down a little bit on the top end, but also add some protection to some of the classes that are in desperate need and are basically unviable in group settings because of this. So hopefully they go for a bit more middle route. Now let's get to the fun part, the third one. And if you've heard anything about this patch before this one, you probably heard about the third option. Let's do it. The third and final option is to maintain last week's patch and add grabs to all classes. Grabbing is the most powerful of the status alignments. And since there are so many variables due to it, the intention is to make sure that the control part. For example, if some classes that are strong in movement, such as Musas, Musa translates to warrior in Google Translate. The original note here says Musa. Such as Musas and Mavers, their strength is movement, needs to be nerfed if they're given a grab. Also, warriors have a grab already. So we are considering other options. Basically, they don't want to do this because if you add a grab to all classes, you have to basically rework all classes from the ground up. You have to potentially remove super armor from Musa and Maver's dash, or you have to give super armor to classes that didn't have super armor protection on their dashes, like Awakening Warrior getting super armor on head chains on cooldown. It's gonna be crazy if they do it. And again, they are saying here, so I'll think about other method, right? This one here I don't see is happening. The way I'm reading this is just they acknowledge that people are talking about this and they've thrown around giving grabs to all classes. It will be like even removing all grabs or adding grabs to all, you would have to redesign pretty much every class in the game completely. Classes with grabs, for the most part, have other weaknesses and stuff. And imagine sages with grabs or Musas or Sorgs. It gets ridiculous because you then realize just how much some of these classes actually have instead of a grab. So the TLDR is, I don't think this is going to happen. It will take way too much time and effort. And as we all know, time is money. They're also saying they're not really considering, they're considering other options, but they want to throw it out there, acknowledge that they know that people have been talking about adding all, but I don't think this is happening. It would be way too much work trying to balance this. So yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about it. It would be a bit ridiculous. Right, so this is the most important part, and this is where you guys need to get involved. We would like to hear the opinions of adventurers as to which of these methods is best. My personal opinion is neither, but a mixture where it's needed between 1 and 2. There is merit to both, but I don't think that you should be applying any of these solutions as a general solution to an individual problem, right? That's my personal opinion about this. If you guys think differently or agree, let me know in the comments as well. But make sure that you make some posts on the official forum. Let PA know, give them feedback. There is a feedback forum as well for Global Labs. Go there and voice your opinion. And they are listening to other regions as well, not just Korea, as they say here later on. As overall progression plan, this is their plan right now. And this gives me a bit of respite, what they're saying here. So this sounds pretty good what's coming up. As for the overall progression plan, in the short term, relatively weak classes will be upgraded by referring to indicators such as Node Wars, Sieges, Arena Solar, not only in Korea, but also in other regions. And the classes that are too expensive will also be upgraded as needed. Again, it could be a translation here, it could be nerfed, like upgraded in a negative direction, you know. So I think their plan is to do like some slight changes, and this is what I think they should do as well. Give some slight buffs in protections on the classes that really needs it to be viable in the current state of the game, in group PvP, and then some of the classes that are overperforming in all aspects of PvP, do some slight changes to their protections. And it could be something simple like changing a super armor to a front guard. We've seen in the past how that can have a huge impact in reducing the OP-ness of a class. So hopefully they'll do just some slight changes like this. We would like to make adjustments. We will continue to... That was me, not you, by the way. We'll continue to seek better patch directions for long-term perspective. Through the Black Desert Global Lab, we'll share more of our thoughts and concerns, as well as class indicators related to PvP that you may be curious about. So I'm guessing they might share some stats, some information about the classes that are actually like, how do they perform? PA has a lot more data than we do. We only have like a personal experience, and then of course communicating and talking to other regions. I also think there's a huge difference in perspective and experience with PvP compared to the competitive scene, and then the average player experience. And I think both are important to consider for this. So hopefully they'll share some stats that will be really cool. Stats are always nice and fun because, then we can figure out if we're completely crazy or if they are. And strive to increase the number of situations we can empathize with. So there you go. It's a pretty huge statement when it comes to PvP without any actual changes. So this right here, it obviously needs you guys as well to voice your opinions. Be constructive in the feedback. PA wants to listen, and hopefully we can get some better balance in terms of PvP. The game will never be balanced, and it never should be balanced. There should always be imbalances, because the only way you get balance in a PvP game is by making every class the same, and that's boring. So doesn't mean that we can't close the gap a bit, and hopefully that's the direction that we're going with this. So let me know what you think in the comments, or drop by the stream at twitch.tv/bprimegaming, and see you all in the next one.